Hey, this is my third attempt to make a video in response to Frowny Brown 86's video about breastfeeding products. Let's hope it works this time. Baby's in bed for a while. So, basically, you mentioned in your video nipple shields, Medela nipple shields specifically, and I used them, so I thought I would make a response video and do a kind of review, because obviously it's something that are fairly close to my heart, and also because you made a video quite some time ago about weaning Jackson off of nipple shields, and it was the only thing I found, that helped. There was nothing else out there. There were no other videos. There was just nothing. And the thing is, health visitors and midwives in the UK, or certainly the ones that I met, have very limited experience of nipple shields, so they couldn't advise me how to give up or how to do anything with them. In fact, one of them, my health visitor, she, I spent ages and ages explaining to her, this is while I was still using shields, I spent ages saying to her, look, I absolutely cannot get him latched on without nipple shields. I want to come off them, but he will not latch on without them. You know, literally cannot do it. And she listened and listened and listened, and then she said, okay, well, maybe just feed him on the one side without shields each time. And you just think, oh my God, you know? Anyway, that was my experience with one health visitor. The rest of them were great, as far as I can tell. So anyway, this is about Medela nipple shields. This is the case that they come in. It's small and compact and easy to clean, handy for baby bags, out and about, you know. And this is the nipple shield. When you buy them, they are beautiful. They're clear and, you know, everything, but they do get a little bit opaque after a while. It's perfectly clean, and just for some reason it gets a little bit opaque. I don't know why they do that. But they're very, very, very soft. See? Very, very, very soft. They're almost like contact lenses for boobs. I hadn't heard of them. Basically, if I start from the beginning, when my son was born, I'd had gestational diabetes, and because of that he had low blood sugar when he was born. And he had to have formula for the first 3 days, 2 or 3 days, I can't remember. And we tried to breastfeed, but it was just a huge struggle. I did do it, you know, but it was just a massive struggle, and he couldn't latch. Yeah, he did eventually, but it was the wrong latch. And I'm not being funny, but when you spent 10 minutes with a screaming baby trying to latch him onto your boob, and eventually he latches, but it's slightly wrong, you don't relatch them, you know. Everyone says relatch, you don't do it. I certainly didn't. But because of that, we got really sore. I got really sore. And I tried for about 3 weeks to feed through it, using Lancino, using this certain, like a gel gauze that you kind of place over it, like a bandage over your nipple. And it just, although it felt good, it didn't help, if you know what I mean. It didn't help in the long run. And eventually, when I was literally at the point where I just was going to give up breastfeeding, which, by the way, is not the end of the world, you know, to be honest with you, if I had known then that it would have taken this long, bearing in mind my son's now 7 months old, to get breastfeeding to a more or less okay point, I think I would have given up. And I almost wish that I had at that point. I kind of do. So, do you know what? If you've given up breastfeeding, kudos on you. Why not? And if you've carried on breastfeeding, excellent too. You know, it's all good. It's all good. Nothing wrong with formula. So, anyway, we got to about 3 weeks. I was so close to giving up, it's untrue. And my mum said to me, go and get some nipple shields, because she'd used them in the late 70s with me. But she described them as hard plastic Mexican hats, which these obviously aren't. They're very, very, very soft and squidgy, and she was actually really impressed with these. They were absolutely brilliant, and although it still took a while to latch him on, it didn't hurt at all. And I suppose I kind of got addicted to them, really, because a week after having started to use them, my health visitor was saying to me, okay, you've used them for a week now, your nipples are probably healed, or at least beginning to heal. Do you want to try without? And I just couldn't face the prospect, so I just said no. A week after that, she asked again, and again I said no. Eventually, we ended up using nipple shields for about 4 months, which is just too long. Because the thing is, I used to get panicky. I used to go out with Will and suddenly think, oh God, have I got the nipple shields with me? Because if I hadn't had these, I couldn't feed him. It was that bad. I literally could not feed him without nipple shields because he couldn't do it. He couldn't latch on. And if I ever accidentally went out without them, oh my God, it was a horrible feeling actually. It's a horrible enough feeling going out on your own with your baby when it's quite small. It's hard enough without worrying about these. So I really wanted to get off them, and everyone that I saw, health visitors and midwives and everything like that, everyone like that, they kept saying to me, you really must try to get off nipple shields. And I'd think, okay, great, I want to, but how? Seriously, how? You know? Because nobody could tell me. And it was the only video that I saw on YouTube, and the only mention of it, in fact, on the web that helped was Frowny Brown 86's video about it. So check it out, by the way, if you want to see a video that's helpful, check that out. And also check out mine, how I wean my baby off nipple shields. Hopefully it will help somebody. Eventually, I just, you know, every now and then I'd try. Not every feed because it would have driven me mad. But every now and then I'd try and feed him without the shields and he just wouldn't do it. Eventually, he latched on for like 2 seconds and then came off again and cried, and it was just miraculous. It was like, oh my God, it could be possible. And then of course couldn't do it, so it just felt like a huge disappointment. After a little while of that happening every now and then, he once latched on and fed for a whole side, because he always has both sides each feed. He fed for a whole side without the shields, and that was just amazing. And then of course couldn't do it. Eventually, some weeks after that, he suddenly fed for a whole day without shields, which was just amazing. And then he had to go on shields again for a few days after that. But the thing is, I was thinking about it, and you know when you're eating steak that's kind of overcooked, and you chew and chew and chew, and it's just like, oh my God, it hurts. It really hurts around here, you know, because your muscles, you're not used to working those muscles so much. I think that's how it was for Will, because I don't know that I used these correctly. Reading the instructions, I definitely didn't use these correctly, because all I did was like place them over, right? But what you're actually supposed to do is suck the nipple into this part here. You know, you're supposed to like push it inside out, push it onto the nipple, and then suck it out. It didn't work for us. It's insane. So what he used to do was suck on this. If you can see this, he used to suck on that part. Whereas with without the shield, obviously he's got the whole thing and he's like this, you know. But he didn't know that action. He couldn't do that action. So for a whole day of doing that, suddenly, I think it got him. I think it, you know, his muscles was sore, which is fair enough. That makes sense. So he couldn't do it for a little while afterwards. But then, of course, because he'd done it for a day, I kind of knew that, okay, this is going to work out. This is going to be fine. So eventually, he totally came off them, and we've now been nipple shield free for about 2 months, I think. Wow. Really? 2 months? Yeah, it could be. Who knows? I have no idea. It's been a while anyway. And to be honest with you, there's 2 things actually. Number one is that I spent months desperate to get off nipple shields, convinced that breastfeeding would be perfect without them. And eventually I did it, and you know what, it was a bit of a letdown, because it wasn't, of course, it wasn't perfect without them. It was still hard work. It didn't hurt. It doesn't hurt at all. Actually, that's interesting. It doesn't hurt at all without nipple shields. After having come off them, it hasn't hurt once. I wonder if it's because he's a little bit older and he's got a bigger mouth. Difficult to tell. So anyway, what was I saying? No idea. Mummy brain. Yeah, didn't hurt, but it still took a little while. For a while, it took a little while to latch him on. He latches on immediately now, but he gets distracted really easily, so I can't feed him in public at all. And to be honest, with the shields, it was easier to feed him in public. But I do wonder if it's his age, because he's 7 months now, and I just think he's getting older, he notices more. I think he would have got distracted anyway with the shields as well. So it's not the wonderful, wonderful thing that I was hoping for, but at least it's something, you know. It's better than it was, but it's not miraculous. The other thing is that while he was on the shields, his weight gain slowed. He didn't lose weight, but his actual rate of growth slowed. So, you know, you have the chart like that. He kind of went, ooh, like that a little bit, which is a bit concerning. The second we finished using the shields, it's come up again. It's moving up again. But he also has acid reflux badly, and he was vomiting and vomiting and vomiting. Around about the same time that we came off the shields, we also finally found the right combination of medication to stop him from vomiting and to help him with his reflux. So it's either one or the other, or a bit of both, you know? So I'm not going to say that nipple shields caused his growth rate to slow, because that's only a possibility. But what I will say is that if it wasn't the nipple shields that slowed his well, you know what, even if it was because I was on them for too long, you know. I was on them for months and months, and I shouldn't have been, basically. So you know what, if you're struggling with breastfeeding and you want to use these, oh my god, go ahead. They're great. They're so great, because they'll afford you to have your nipples heal a little, and just have an easier time for just maybe a couple of weeks. Don't do it as long as I did. That's where you get the issues. I don't know, I'm not an expert, but I would say maybe feed solidly with them for like 3 or 4 days, and then try every now and then without. You'll probably still be sore, but you know, just keep the ball rolling, if you know what I mean. Keep putting him on without, just in case. I didn't do it at all because I was too scared, and we did get stuck on them. But you know, although mine doesn't sound like a successful story, you know what? We are still breastfeeding. He's 7 months old. We're breastfeeding without shields. You know, we're not exclusively breastfeeding, because he has 3 solid meals a day now. He's a big old chunk. But it's all the milk he gets, and he's fine. He's doing really, really well. And I personally think that these things are great. I don't know what the attitude is like in the US, in the States, but in the UK, the attitude towards nipple shields is quite poor, actually. That people don't trust them at all. Midwives and health visitors are not keen on these things. Not keen. But you know what? Don't necessarily listen to them. Listen to them, but if nothing else helps, go get yourself some of these. You can get them in the UK. You can get them in Boots, and I have no idea. I can't remember how much they cost, but they're pretty reasonable. They're like around a tenner, something like that. So yeah, don't be scared of them, but don't overuse them, is my advice on Medela nipple shields. And I think this is, by the way, I think this is the small. Just so you know. Anyway, thanks very much for watching. Have a great day, and for Annie Brown, thank you again so much for that video about weaning Jackson off nipple shields, because it was a total lifesaver. It's just nice to know that somebody else has been through it. That's always the best thing, isn't it? It's always the best thing. Anyway, have a great day, and I will make another video and see you guys tomorrow. Bye.